Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry, from the informative to the insane. Starring Ryan Rash.
My revenge will be success.
And Dale Hummel.
Bigly. I said bigly.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
A slow week in the media.
Oh, yeah.
Slow.
Just the slowest.
We have a lot, and it's going to, should we just tell them now, current events is going to run long. Just that simple.
It's not going to be quick.
What was the best form of entertainment you had in the past week?
The best form? I don't think I can say that online right now. I do not need to be recorded.
How about something you witnessed on the news programs?
Well, since I know what your answer is and you thought it was the greatest ever, you just go right ahead. I don't want to rain on your parade, sir.
Well, you agreed that this was better than the O.J. Simpson trial.
It was fabulous. I put it on the Facebook of Face that I thought O.J. would be jealous.
So I haven't kept up with it past the first or second day. And wasn't that basically the same right after we recorded last week? So it's a little bit old news now, unfortunately. But the Trump indictment in Georgia, where we have the, how do you put it?
Fannie. Her name is Fannie.
I understand her name is Fannie. She is not only crazy, she's unintelligent. There is no possible way that she should be prosecuting a former president of the United States. Can we agree upon that?
I'm not disagreeing at all.
And I think it's a disservice. I think they should leave her on the case rather than removing her, because anybody you put on there is going to do a better job than she does.
Well, what I think is funny is this woman who was not supposed to be watching this hearing.
Yes.
Okay. And then as soon as her boyfriend gets done testifying, she burst into the courtroom, like just flings the doors open, runs up to the desk, all these things like, I should be called next. How do you know this lady if you're not watching this stuff?
And she pretty much ran the courtroom while she was in the witness stand.
Oh,
I don't know why.
The best analogy was, I don't remember which pundit on which whatever, they referred to the judge as a ficus tree. It was like he was just sitting there like a ficus tree, and she ran over him and everybody else. Yeah, it was a mess.
And wasn't she a judge at some level at one time?
I think so. I don't know.
How does a person this unintelligent get a judgeship? How?
And not only is she unintelligent, she is the most racist. Like, I mean,
she is.
Oh, it was something. And I just literally OJ and the Kavanaugh or whatever, the Murdoch, whatever that meant, they had nothing on this.
No, it wasn't even a close. So to me, it was just a joke when Fannie Willis is up there and her boyfriend, Nathan Wade, who she hired to help prosecute this case for some obscene amount of money, who had no experience prosecuting anything like this. Obviously, it's nothing like that. But
was on her transition team, never been on a transition team before, all the things.
And then they take many lavish vacations around the Caribbean and the United States.
That she only paid cash for. But she hadn't.
Yes. She paid cash to reimburse him for her portion of the cruise or the ticket or the hotel.
I believe
it is unbelievable, the crap that she's putting out there. And if this would have been a conservative that was paying, where do you think the IRS would be on this?
They would have shown up in the courtroom.
And I'm going to make the statement right now. They will not even look into her.
Oh, no.
Not even. So then she brings her father on the stand. And what was his famous statement?
It's a black thing.
About the cash.
Wasn't that it? It's a black thing. Black people hide cash. That was, I know he said that, but
he basically says, I'm not trying, I don't mean this racist, but black people keep cash. I recommend keeping 6 months of cash on hand at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where it was brought out. I think when Willis or Nathan Wade brought up that he gets paid cash at his law office from his clients.
How does that not send the IRS into fits?
I don't know. There's nothing. It's legal. It's maybe suspicious, but legal. But it's just amazing.
And you really think that him or anybody else, I don't care what profession, that gets paid in cash actually documents it all? No.
Oh no! And he says he puts everything on his business card, and then he hands the statements to his accountant, and he sorts out what's personal and what's business.
That's right.
Which is legal. Again, a lot of oddities. If this judge doesn't see through this crap, I think he'll probably run out of the courthouse.
It'll be something.
Oh, it's just a mess. Just a mess. I don't know where. Should we go to something positive?
There is something positive? What is positive?
Oh, there is. You are going to agree with this, and 100%. Oh. Trump's town hall last night.
Oh, don't even start there. You were sending me all kinds of negative text messages.
I'm trying to be positive. I can start with the negative first on it. But he did a town hall last night that was amazing. I thought in the big picture of things for where he has been in the past and where he's at now and what he's trying to accomplish. It was good. Started out a little rough.
It did not,
but evolved into a great. Oh,
the first thing that was asked about him was that your crazy ass Nikki Haley girlfriend, whatever, and he was so kind. He was so nice.
No, he got a little flustered. He said Bigley, and then admitted he said Bigley because he knew that the news media.
He said
eat up on it.
He said she just doesn't know how to get out. That was the kindest thing the man could say.
He also said how she lost big in Iowa, she lost big in New Hampshire, and something with Bigley that didn't.
And she's 30 points down in her home state.
I agree completely with all of those things, and I did not.
She is the only person in America that does not know how to count. I've decided.
And Trump has the ability to get new words into the dictionary.
That's right. Bigley is in the dictionary.
I would have told you Bigley was not a word.
It is a word.
I looked it up. I sent it to you.
It is a word.
Then they used one of Trump's statements, I believe.
Yes.
In Wikipedia or whatever it may have been. Amazing. I love when Trump, there's so many things that I enjoyed that he said. I love when he talked about Joe, he'd just be better off. He'd stayed on the beach. The border would be in better shape. Just leave it alone. Stay on the beach, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
His best statement was what? I know you want to say it.
Well, and I think it was first off, I thought it was a very valid question. And this lady said, there are people out there that think that if you get reelected, I'm paraphrasing, that this will all be about revenge. And he went through all this. But anyway, the end statement was probably the best thing I have heard anyone say about anything in a long, long time. And he said, my revenge will be success. And I was like, there you go.
He just nailed it. Do you think he had that ahead of time?
I don't think so.
Just came up with it.
Because
that was deadly.
Because if you really paid attention, he went through all of these things, and then Laura had to bring him back. And he said,
yes.
And she said, that's why I don't think he had the question beforehand.
No, I think you're right.
Because she had to bring him back. She said, but this lady wants to know exactly about whatever. And he said, revenge will be my success. And I was like, okay, end it right here. That's over. Everybody, come on, let's go. Move on.
I found Laura bringing him back around to get some of the answers she wanted, a little more, maybe guiding him a touch, which surprised me.
Yeah, because she's normally not very pro-Trump.
No, I thought she was guiding him and helping the matter. I didn't mean that he would have had the question beforehand, but he had thought about that being an answer to a question such as that.
Well, like if he had, then that just proves how smart he is, because that answer was amazing. But he should be saying that at every rally, every Q&A
campaign. The new
screw
rally.
Save America. My revenge will be my success will be my revenge, or whatever the hell is that. That should be the new
success.
Yeah,
my revenge will be success. I think it would resonate like no other.
Oh,
you're right.
Absolutely. Yeah,
amazing. Just amazing.
Great.
Did you listen to his? I love the tariff discussion, and obviously I was aware of it, but just making everybody play an even playing field. And for some reason, in the past, our presidents haven't done that.
They don't,
for the most part. It's amazing. European Union, the protectionism that they have there, he brought to light about Germany not having any Chevrolets on their streets, and we have the Volkswagen, the BMW, all these things, and we have let them get away with it for a long time. And I'm not opposed to them being protectionists, but if they're going to do that, we need to play the same. I don't. They can do whatever they want. We can't dictate what another country does, but we can darn sure make sure to make the playing field even going back and forth. And that's all that I would ask for. And Trump is very clear on that.
And there were 2 points that I had no idea that he dealt with the lady in Germany that way. That's never come out before. And I thought, again, wonderful. But the other thing that I thought was very interesting, I knew that he had imposed all these tariffs on China. But I did not know that Biden had not taken them off. And he made them.
I wasn't aware of that either.
I mean, he basically undid everything else that the Trump administration did. I was not aware of that. So,
and Trump's explanation was generates too much money to take off.
Right. He can't. But I don't know.
No,
I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was his best town hall to date. I was immensely proud of him. I really gave Nikki Haley way too much credit. And I liked her when this started out. Now I literally think she might be one of the dumbest human beings in the world. But
I'm not going to go that far, because I believe she knows she cannot win, but she has a reason for staying, as in the situation that if Trump cannot be on the ballot for whatever legal reason, or he no longer exists, or whatever it may be. And you've brought this up, that he should fear for his life. And I fear for him. But I think she has a solid case to say she had the second most delegates. I think that is her sole purpose. She knows she's not helping advance her political career 4 years from now. She's not unintelligent. I think she's maybe made a misjudgment, or throwing a line out there in a long shot that he can't be on the ballot. The problem is,
I can go with you to some extent on this, but then explain to me these 2 things. Number one, the reason she can still be in this race is the money she is getting is mostly from Democrats. And that's documented. You can't argue with me on it. It is what it is.
I've heard that it's documented from the town hall, but I do not have any evidence of that, and I can't.
Well, when CNN I can see and MSNBC is saying the same things, it's all true. I mean, when all of them are all agreeing on this, I think it's probably pretty valid. Have I seen the documentation myself? No. But more importantly than that, why is she talking to the No Party or whatever that other thing that is it called No Party? I don't know. But
yeah, just looking at a third-party ticket,
yes,
is what she's entertained, and I just don't think she can at this point. And the other
then why is she talking to him? If she really, if everything that she says, I'm here to win the Republican primary, then why are you talking to somebody else?
And I'm going to argue against
why are you taking money from Democrats?
I'm going to argue against my own theory. If she was wanting to become the president, if Trump was not allowed on the ticket, she should not be offending all of Trump's supporters.
That's the whole thing.
So
if she really thinks, for whatever reason, that he's not going to be able to run, they're going to shoot him, whatever, the Supreme Court, all this other stuff, then why would she be offending 90% of her voters that she hopes to get? Because she's not going to be able to walk this back now.
All right, you won. You won. She's not very intelligent. You win.
There's no walking this back. Like,
no.
After New Hampshire, it was something like close to 40% said that if Nikki Haley was a Republican primary, whatever, they would not vote for her. Now it is like 65%. Because she is bashing him left and right, and it's just a terrible idea.
Oh, she came out and talked about how many of the politicians supporting Trump will talk about what a disaster he is in private. And she has a statistic she throws out there. I believe it's 70% of the Americans do not want another Joe Donald ticket. I don't know. I don't know where she gets this or if it's accurate. I can see it to a certain degree. I don't know about 70%, but I can see some of that.
Oh, I'm not saying. I'm sure there was a poll that said it, and I'm not disagreeing that's probably out there. But
did you notice?
Here's the one thing that I'm going to say: unless they physically not physically, if they can assassinate him or they can prevent him some way legally, Trump is on the ballot. Biden, I don't know.
Okay. As you went into that, and I was going to talk about some of the VP stuff first, but we can skip that because it's going to get very long. When you're talking about Trump being on the ballot, absolutely. And you're saying you don't know about Joe. We've talked about it. You've talked about it many times about the mainstream media taking a turn on Joe. Finally, some of the pundits are starting to say the same. And I think even Joe Rogan came out and made a prediction that your boyfriend from the state of California, Gavin Newsom, is going to be on the ballot. He is raising money. He's going down that path. And you'll be voting for him, I'm sure.
No, I will not be voting for him because I have the two things I have said about Gavin Newsom is one, he is hot.
And
he is. Number two.
I told you don't discuss things like that.
Number two, in my lifetime, I have never seen a better debate performance ever than what he gave against Don Juan DeSantis. And he is clearly God's greatest sociopath because all he did was lie.
Yes. He defied all the facts and he did it well. He did it very, very well. I had one more question for you that we did not discuss in private. Trump made the comment that the VP choice has absolutely no impact on the election. It's all about the president. I don't know that I agree with that. And did you notice he was really sucking up to Tim Scott for the South Carolina vote?
I don't think, I did not hear him say that it's all about the president. I would disagree
he did.
with it. If
word
he
for
said
word.
that, then I disagree with that.
Word for word.
I think actually this election more than any other, it is going to be about who the VP is because they have made the age issue such a thing because Biden is so cognitively impaired and they try to throw it back that Trump is 4 years, only 4 years difference in age, which is true. Okay. That is right.
Chronologically speaking.
Right. But here's the deal. And some people are not coming. I know, I have known some 90-year-old, 80-year-old, 70-year-old people that are just as sharp as they were when they were 40. I also know 50-year-olds that aren't, that they're 80-year-olds that have it way more together and are way more mentally competent than them. It is not an age issue. It is a cognitive ability issue. And that's it. It doesn't matter how old you are either fundamentally together, your brain functions, it fires, it does all these things, or it doesn't. And Trump clearly does. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes gaffes, all this other stuff. We are past the gaffes on Biden. The man can't even get up 10 flights of 10 stairs. He stumbled twice on Air Force One yesterday. Again.
Can we agree Trump is fairly calculated in things he puts out there?
Oh, yeah.
When he makes a statement that the vice president has no impact, that tells me that he's not shopping for that minority, female, Black, Hispanic, whatever direction you want to take it. I think he's going to say screw it and pick whoever he wants. That's why he's putting that out there.
And you're probably right. And I desperately, if I could say anything to them, and I like Tim Scott, don't get me wrong. And I think what Trump said last night about him is probably the most accurate. He is way better at being a cheerleader for Trump than he was running as a presidential candidate. And I think Trump's reason was right. Tim Scott does not like talking about himself. He's a very humble part. Well, humble only works so much when you're running for the highest office in the land. Biden is not humble.
No.
Neither was Bill Clinton or Barack Obama, or you can go all these things. So
it just and again, I'm not saying that they wouldn't do a good job. It just doesn't work to get to there.
No, I'm not saying they want to do a job, but you have to be a little bit arrogant and a little bit egotistical and a little bit I'm a badass if you're going to sell it to the American people. Humble is not going to work in a presidential election by and large. But so I agreed with that on Trump. If I could say one thing to Trump, while I like him and he is a person of color, and I think that would be a good choice, I desperately hope it's a woman. I desperately hope it's a woman.
The other ones that were mentioned on there besides Scott were Gabbard and Noem, I believe. You and I believe that Noem will not be on the ticket, even though we would both like her there.
No, I want Tulsi Gabbard. I do. I think that is,
and I'm okay with that one as well. And I think he's obviously got her on the short list, but there is one person And I don't remember if we just talked about it in private or if we brought it up.
No, we have not brought it up on the podcast.
Well, I think it's time.
Well, go right ahead.
No, you're the one that okay.
I have a source. I'm just saying, I have a source that is very in tune with things. I'm not going to divulge who this source is. That person knows who it is that has given me.
And it was not male, and he did not sleep with this person.
No, none of that. Okay. But that is very in on the whole, not only just Republican politics, but on the Trump team, knows them, met with them, all this other stuff. And their belief is that one of the front runners is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was his press secretary for the very first one. And she is now
great job.
She did.
Killed it.
And is now the governor of Arkansas. First
okay,
female
do you realize,
of Arkansas, I believe.
Do you watch those commercials with her father supporting Trump and sending out books to the? I mean, there's so many things. Her conservative values, the relationship they've had, and her being press secretary, all of those things combined, and being a female, all of the above. I feel ignorant that I did not think she would be on the short list. And no pundit, to my knowledge, has brought this up yet.
No pundit has. And the one thing that I will say about this, when this was brought to my attention, he likes to shock the shit out of people.
Yep.
And so picking someone that nobody's talked about, that is right up his alley. I think that was the death knell in Tim Scott's vice presidential hopes last night, when he's like, a lot of people are talking about this guy right here, and points to him, and they pan over. It's like, well, you're done, because think about this when he picked Pence. Pence was on nobody's radar. None. No one.
No, I agree. And I think you're exactly right. And it was Tim Scott's. I think that did not work to his advantage. And I'm completely with you. And other than the fact that he came out, the vice president doesn't make a difference. I would think that Sarah would help a little being a female, but maybe, so I don't know. I'm confused, but that if I had to place a bet on any of them, even though she's not been mentioned by any in the pundits in the media, I would still put it on Sarah right now.
I would be okay with it.
And I'm great with that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. None. Zero. So you had talked about the president need to be a little bit arrogant and definitely not humble by any means.
I didn't say not humble. I just don't think it works.
And this is where you get very angry with me when I make comments that I want so badly to get Trump into the White House because he can do so much for us. And I think his policy will be on steroids this time compared to even last time. It was great last time, but it's even going to be better because he doesn't give a shit about real life. He's just going to do what needs to be done, period. Could care less about anything. Not that he did a lot last time, but he will get, I thought last time he took a little while to really just, here's what we're doing, and it is what it is. But he's going to do so much good when he gets in there and rewriting some of this policy. What you get upset with me about is I would like to change him a little bit, and you say he can't. I understand that. Do you remember our episode a couple back about ESTs?
Mm-hmm.
If he would just remove EST from some of the words he uses, and I truly believe this, I'm not being sarcastic or anything. I believe he if he would change those things, the bigly, the best, all the EST type things, I think the independents and some of the moderates would be more willing to come on board. And to me, that is a very, very simple ask, and I just don't think he'll do it. But if he did, I think the road to the White House would be that much easier.
I am not going to disagree with you. The one thing that I am never brought up on this podcast, but when you were doing this last night, I brought up to you, and I don't think you had thought about it either. There has never been a presidential candidate in history that has made more adjustments to their life and their family to run for this office than he has. Like, you can put them all together combined and not. And so when people
I don't know that it was intentional adjustments. He was forced into it. I mean,
either way, it's happened. And it's not just because of all this, trials and all this bullshit, but it just is what it is. And so maybe because I see that and I've always seen that, I give him a little more grace. I agree with what you say. This is running long, and we need to bring up two other things.
We have all kinds of things to bring up. It might as well have been a Beyond the Circle.
Well, anyway, and we're going to have a Beyond the Circus as soon as we hear about the Supreme Court. We'll probably rehash
it. Don't be talking about that. You're going to ruin the question and answer.
Oh, well, okay.
Don't be doing that.
Anyway, next, the one thing that we haven't talked about is, and I do not know how to pronounce the man's name, but Putin killed his biggest political not a rival, I guess, because not an opponent, but anyway, while he was in custody. And I cannot pronounce the man's name. I'm sorry. I'm not good at it. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the little man's name. Rest his peace. 3 years ago, Biden told Putin, if this man died while in your custody, there will be severe not even severe. It was something even worse than that. Devastating repercussions for Russia. When this happened this week and Biden got questioned about it, he's like, well, that was 3 years ago.
He did, and he talked about how they put sanctions on everything that has been done prior to now, but nothing because of that. However, there was a thing that came across the news very late last night, very, very late, or early this morning, that he was now going to impose some other sanction. I think it's more symbolic other than, I don't know that it's going to have a huge impact. But I believe because of the pressures and the mistake that he made in that little question and answer, he's throwing something out there now. I don't know that it's been announced, but there's something coming.
So here's my thing with sanctions.
No, but that's what I'm saying is I believe he is putting another sanction on. I'm not saying it's a relevant sanction, but he is doing that to allow your little girlfriend to go out there on the press conference for the White House and say, well, he did this.
Well, sanctions in general, they have to pay them, and most don't. Number two, in dealing with Putin and Russia, Joe Biden made Putin the richest head of any country in the world when he quit drilling and quit fracking and all this other stuff and took our energy independence away. So you can sanction the man to death. He has more money than almost anybody on the planet.
I'm not arguing that at all. And sanctions have not stopped him. I'm sure it's made life worse for Russian people to a certain degree. But I at this point, all the sanctions you could imagine are pretty much in place. And I think another small sanction it's not going to make a big difference. I'm not saying don't do it. It's not going to have a huge impact.
Okay, there we go.
By any means. And it's Navalny, I believe, is who you're trying to.
I don't want to. I'm not even going to attempt.
But this man was originally poisoned. He went to a hospital in Germany, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember which country, and they worked out what it was, got healthy, and then returned back to Russia.
And got arrested,
knowing that Putin is trying to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
That's brave, very brave. And it seems like his family, his mother and his wife, are still speaking out. I just don't put anything past Putin. Putin believes he can do anything, get away with anything, particularly with Biden in office. There's no doubt he has zero fear of the United States at this moment. Zero.
Absolutely.
It's a bad situation. Very, very, very bad situation. So we didn't even talk about the $350 million fine.
We'll save that for something else.
We're going to have to. 20,000 Chinese entered the country since October through the southern border. That's not probably good. Many of them single, young, male.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Do you have other? I have more current events. But
no, we need to stop.
Way too long. I would love. There's a hearing taking place where Jim Biden is in. I guess sitting down answering questions.
Circus at some point, sir.
All right. Well, do you have any BTR JLA news?
Top 10 overall cattle. First one of the year. In first place is Garrett Roosh of Ohio. Second place, Tyler Lindsay of Mississippi. I always say that when it says MS and it's Mississippi. I know Tyler very well. He's from Mississippi. Third place, Shelby Vincent, Arizona. Fourth place, Emma Hill, West Virginia. Fifth place, Riley Purvis, Mississippi. Sixth place, Dallas Ritchie, Indiana. Seventh place, Lacey DeSmith, Arizona. Eighth place, Lila Shaw, Arizona. Ninth place, Kaylee Sager of Ohio. And 10th place, Ellie Hurt of Texas. I would like to thank the Showman app for being a corporate sponsor for 2024 and also the preferred partner with the BTR JLA for 2024. Showman, for show results and all things shows, Showman was designed to be a user-friendly and affordable option for your online show management to save you time and reduce stress. The software allows you to collect entry information and payments online, as well as sponsorship payments, t-shirt orders, pins, or anything else. Tools for breaking classes, printing show books, and recording results are all built in. Josh and his team are proud to provide top-notch customer service from start to finish. We've seen how the Showman app helps shows run more efficiently and encourage all show coordinators to check it out and sign up for it. Thank you to the Showman app. Again, they are our preferred partner for show management for the BTR JLA for 2024. That does not mean that you have to use Showman app to be a sanctioned show, but we do suggest it. Thank you, Showman app.
You saw that question coming, didn't you?
Yeah.
That is good. Well, congratulations to the top 10. Thank you, Showman app, all those things. Ryan, I did have another positive thing that's livestock related. I'm kind of proud of my little project on this one. And this is something you and I, there's one animal you and I both agreed upon that we like in the livestock world.
Okay.
Remember a bull you called Augie?
Yes.
Proper name would be Hummel Argentine, maybe?
Yeah, that was a dumb name.
Okay. Those 4 bulls that were there on display at Oklahoma City with Augie, his siblings, his flesh mates.
Mm-hmm.
South America was the one that was sold there and is now at Coleman Ranch and selling a lot of offspring. And there was the smaller bull on the far, I guess in the stalls, he was on the far left, originally named Baldassar, now called Palermo. Do you remember him?
Yep.
So yesterday there was a bull sale. And that bull, Palermo is his name now, they sold one. I had sold half of him originally and then sold the other half 6 months ago, a year ago. I don't remember when. I do not own any of him, so I get none of this money. But he was put in a bull sale yesterday, and a third interest sold for $175,000. I was very proud of that. And a South America sired bull brought $210,000. So that group of bulls, I'm excited. And you do know which one is my favorite, right?
Augie.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, that's the one
easy.
We kept.
We have an Augie female in our show barn right now.
Don't believe it because there are no pictures or videos to prove it.
Well, she will be going to the Illinois Beef Expo, Ryan, and she is built so well and so big bodied and clean enough fronted and so big. She will be 2 to 3 times wider than any of the other Angus heifers there. And I do not know that that's going to serve her well. Is my fear. But she, in my mind, she is stout, flexible, still fat. I don't know. You're going to say you're not going to pick on an animal for a heifer for having some muscle as long as everything else is correct, right?
Correct.
I think you'd be okay with her. She's not freak fronted by any means, not even close. But anyway, okay. I apologize for that little distraction there because we have a very good topic today. The main topic, since we missed this idea last week, today's title
Dale missed
is I thought about it. I just didn't mention it to you.
Right.
Today's title is 201 Reasons Why.
Correct.
That's a good title, Ryan.
Thank you. I've spent a lot of time thinking of it. No, anyway. So last week was our 200th episode of Beyond the Ring. And Dale didn't want to talk about it for some point. I did
not want to talk about it. I just thought about it and I didn't. I explained to Ryan that birthdays, holidays, events like that, they're just not on my radar, really. They're just another day to me.
So I gave him all these other topics. We decided on another topic at 3:01 a.m. this morning. He decides, no, we need to do this one. So here we are.
And I'm excited to do it. I actually had some time last night to kind of just reflect upon
when you weren't texting me at 3:00 in the morning. But
true.
But
very, very true.
I first think that we should thank all of our listeners because without the listeners, there would be no 200 episodes whatsoever at all. And so I don't think we say thank you enough to all of you guys and gals and everybody, but it really is something quite special to, I think, both me and Dale, that this has not only lasted and taken off the way it has, but we're somewhere between 4 million and 5 million downloads in less than 4 years. I just never knew that this would be as big as it is. And without you listeners, none of that happens. So from me to you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
No, and we don't say thank you enough. And Ryan, I think you and I can both admit and be very transparent when I first came to you with the idea and we discussed it for a little while before we jumped on here. We had hoped that it would go well. And I think the purpose of educating because of the need and the desire for stock show families that they were having, in my opinion, over the past 10, 20, since I can remember, there are always show families out there seeking information. And if they can find somebody that's willing to help them, great. But there's a lot of families that don't have that person that they can go to and get all this information from. And some people in our industry aren't willing to share. Others will give them everything they have completely. So from the beginning, I think it was about the demand and the desire for people to get information and educate them about showing livestock. And that's a pretty strong base to start with. And obviously it's evolved and worked out very, very well. But I think if you can go even just a little bit further, and when I thought about this initially and discussed it with several other people, the fact that you have educational information there is good, but think about it in a manner that just that information maybe isn't going to hold the listener. So what else would you do besides try to entertain? And somebody that's very passionate about this industry, very well versed in this industry, and somewhat entertaining. Ryan, you were a pretty easy choice, weren't you?
I guess
it was simple. There was no thought put into the only thought was, what is he going to jump on board? Because I was a little hesitant, and it would not have taken much from you in the beginning when I tossed the idea to you to talk me out of it, and thankfully you did not, and I appreciate that, because it was to me it was throwing you and I both out there, like, here it is. If this fails, it's failing in front of the world.
Well, see, none of that ever bothers me, because you can't find one semi-successful person that has not failed in their life. And the failure, I have failed, whatever. The failures in your life, if you learn from them and grow from them and don't repeat them, then that's how you become a success. So that didn't bother me. I had no idea back in December of 2019 what the hell Dale wanted to take me to dinner for. No clue. And so when he came up with this idea and he pitched it to me, I said, I am willing to do anything, whatever. I want this to stay, continue, thrive, succeed, all this other stuff. I said, I am just warning you right now, I do not listen to podcasts, and I still don't. And that seems very hypocritical of me, but I just don't. So I had no idea if it would work, if it would last, all those things, but it has. And I think probably, and we're going to get into the 201 reasons why, but I think the goal was always we want to educate, we want to enlighten, all of this stuff. I think the fact that you are the way you are and I am the way I am is probably, and we are so different in so many ways, but so similar in some. And the biggest one is that we truly believe in this industry and all the great things that it does. And our other differences is what makes it work, because we are opposite in a lot of ways, and that keeps it entertaining. Dale doesn't think he's entertaining. I think sometimes he can be very entertaining. Of course, he's not a court jester like me, but I think that it just works because we're so opposite. I didn't know it would. I had no idea the impact that it would have. I am grateful. I am thankful. And we will continue to do this as long as it is reaching people, it is well received, and all this other stuff. The one thing that I think sometimes people ask, I get asked all the time, how do you do this? How do you do that? I know nothing. I knew nothing about it. Was on one podcast before we recorded our first one. Dale found Clifton. They sent me some equipment. we hooked up and we went. Clifton is the man behind the scenes that we could not do any of this without. He probably makes us sound way more intelligent than what we actually are when this is recorded. And he has also given great insight throughout the whole process in different ways in terms of engaging listeners and all this other stuff. So without Clifton, I think we would be at a loss. And I don't think Clifton enough on here, but I need to. And I think Dale feels the same way.
No, we're not even technologically advanced enough. We couldn't even we know nothing about that side of it at all. So and I can add to it, Ryan, because of your schedule, because of my schedule, and Clifton has a real job beyond producing this podcast. His willingness to be flexible with our schedule is pretty amazing, to take that hour and a half every single week. In some, and I know the listeners really appreciate what we're doing, but I think for you and I, when somebody asked, how do you do this?
When we say we don't know, we really mean we don't know. We're not just being bitches and don't want to give away. We don't know.
Our biggest thought is when can we possibly get this done this week? When can we schedule it? That is the biggest hurdle we have.
And that is one thing. And I do not want anybody to take this as I am not bashing any other podcast. I am not discrediting any other podcast. All of you people that listen to podcasts, y'all listen to them all the time. So there is room for everybody. I want to say that first. One of the things that makes us unique is we have done this every week without fail for 201 weeks in a row. And I don't think anybody else, there's any other podcast that has done that. And that's not me bragging. That's just stating facts. And I think that is a big portion to the success. We are out there every single week at the exact same time. It's out there, it's available, and we have covered a wide variety of topics. We have had guests, we have not had guests, and I have poured my heart out here about me personally. We kind of got Dale to talk about a little bit of his personal stuff, but I think the fact that we do it every single week, that's a big part of it, and that's just my personal opinion.
No, there's no question. And Ryan, did you think in the very beginning that we could ever come up with 201 topic episode ideas?
No.
And it really, I think it's gotten easier, to be honest with you. And maybe some of the topics are terrible. Maybe some people don't like them. I don't know. But if you listeners out there really knew how we go about coming up with these topics, I think they may be disappointed, Ryan, because there's a lot, I guess we try to address to better this industry, but more times than not, we're coming up with that topic pretty much the night before or that morning, and just going with it. I wish we could tell you that we spend all week researching, we're doing this or that, but I think the beauty of it, and again, not trying to be boastful, not trying to be ESTs or any of that, but I think because of Ryan and my own life experiences, and not only historically or in our past, but what we're living right now, it just makes it easy to talk about some of these topics. It's what we're living. It's what we're doing every day.
Yeah. And I think that's very, very true. And the other thing that I think, or one of the other things that I think makes us very unique is, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. Yes, we have guests and we like having guests, but the majority of it is just me and Dale. And I think that's something that's unique from the rest of the podcast. But more importantly than that, because we don't have guests every single week, and it's not people, telling their story, which is fascinating. Everybody's story in the livestock industry is fascinating and it's different. And so that's why I think there's room for every type of podcast, like I said. But we, on this podcast, have truly tried to put topics out there every single week that are not only informative and educational, but a lot of times we have gone places that no one else has, and no one else wanted to, and still don't want to. But I will say, like I've said countless times on here, if we do not continue to evolve, change, and try to better this industry, because while I have devoted my whole life to this industry, obviously I am passionate about it, or I would not make the sacrifices that I do in my life for it. But if we don't talk about what's wrong, and if we don't try to fix those things or bring those things to people's attention, eventually this will end. It will not continue, because you just can't ignore those things forever and ever and ever. And that's just facts. And so the one thing that I am probably the proudest about of this podcast is that we have not been afraid to talk about the things that others won't.
I agree completely. And I think that transparency is a large part of what people appreciate. And again, how this all came together, and the entertainment, the education, the passion, all of those things came together. And I think it is all those reasons combined that has made this very, very popular podcast. And we'd always hoped in the beginning those things would happen, but I don't know that it was necessarily orchestrated. It just happened, and they all happened to be in place. But Ryan, you hit on a very, very important topic that I wanted to talk about today, and that is the transparency with what's going on in our industry. And there are things, just as Ryan said, there's a lot of positive things that we need to highlight and bring out so other shows can implement, or other families can do as such, and better themselves as a stock show family, and make it a better experience for those kids, and raise them in an environment that we all talk about and we all love, and foster hopefully better adults, and foster them into adulthood in a manner that we choose. With that said, that transparency sometimes pulls back the curtain to the point that, wow, why would you say that if it's a negative in our industry? Just as Ryan stated, if we don't talk about these things with the hope that the listeners out there will pick up that discussion, talk about it amongst themselves at the ground level, and if there's enough people talking about it and enough people in favor of change and or cleaning up things, or whatever direction it may be, to me, that is how our industry continues to evolve and go down a path that it can be here 10 years from now, 20 years from now, forever, basically, if it continues to evolve. If not, and Ryan made this point, I think we would be on a path that it would be more challenging. We're no longer in a situation where livestock producers have to go out and exhibit their animals to survive in this industry. There is no absolute connection between the show world and the real world livestock in a commercial sense. So there's nothing for the junior livestock industry to fall back upon other than itself and the education and the tool it can be to raise children. With that said, if it no longer becomes a positive tool to raise children, it no longer exists.
Exactly. And that is kind of the coolest thing about this. While I do not think that we have ever bashed any said person, any said show, anything like that, but we have talked about the issues that nobody else wants to talk about, wants to bring about. And I have had people come up and say, I cannot believe that y'all went there. Well, somebody's got to go there if we want this to stay and we want this to continue and to thrive and to strive and succeed. And I think it is necessary for it to be there, because I truly believe, and again, I would not give up basically my life in putting myself out there, judging all these shows, doing all these things, whatever, if I didn't believe that strongly in this industry and in this program and what it does for kids. But at the same time, just like Dale says, it does not have to be here. And I think we forget, and a lot of people forget, that if it does not stay this wonderful place to raise a kid, because we are truly raising kids more than we are raising livestock now, then this can cease to exist. And I don't think anybody really fathoms that or understands that, but it is a very true, very real reality. And that is why I am not afraid to take on the taboo subjects or the hard subjects or any of those things, because I want this to stick around as long as humanly possible.
I love it. And Ryan, that is perfect, because if we think about this, the type of show animal that wins in the show ring today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, really is totally irrelevant outside of this little circle we call the junior livestock industry. It's not going to have any impact on the world whatsoever. So in that sense, we need to continue to say, wow, yeah, we're shooting to win that banner. We're shooting to make ourselves better, to get better, to do better in the ring. And because of that, it fosters so many good things that we've talked about many, many times. But we have to come to the reality that whatever type of that animal that we're selecting is almost irrelevant compared to the fact that this industry is fostering better kids. And we have to allow that environment that we've been so that you and I and many have benefited from so much to continue in a positive manner, or I think there's going to be fewer and fewer people doing this particular activity. There's a lot of choices out there that people can decide, well, I'm going to actually take a family vacation rather than getting that calf in the cooler room at 4 a.m. and out at 1 in the morning or whatever it may be. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of dedication. They have to want to do this. And for them to want to do this, there has to be a positive end result. And that end result, I believe, and most people in this industry, I would hope if they thought about it, the end product is no question raising kids in an environment that's going to make them better. And we can't lose track of that. We really can't. And I promise you, when I'm making breeding decisions or working with our manager, Craig, on what are we going to breed for next year, where's the trend going to be, we have to do all those things to provide an animal to exhibitors that has a chance to do very well. But the bottom line comes in, let's set a good example for those kids. Let's give them the tools to make themselves better.
Yeah. And you brought up a very good point when you're talking about take a family vacation or all this other stuff. I don't care what you're doing, whether it's sports or any of this other stuff. It's always expensive. It's all this other stuff. I think that showing livestock is probably more labor intensive than most sports and hobbies, for not just for that child, but for the entire family. But that is also what makes it the greatest place, because you are spending that time with your kid, your family, and your extended family. But one thing that we've tried to touch on is kids have a lot more options on how to spend their free time, their extracurricular activity time, and all these other things than they've ever had before. And that's not going to change. That's only going to increase. And
absolutely. And not only that, Ryan, and I apologize for interrupting there, not only do kids have more options available, and every parent right now will tell you that they're basically going so many directions, trying to provide so many opportunities for the kids, and sometimes too many. And it's a very fine line. What do you limit them to? Think about the other side of it. It is very labor intensive. And you talked about the beauty of it being that it is labor intensive for the family and being able to do it all together. And I agree completely with that. Guess what other choice there is? The parents also have a choice on how they're going to spend that disposable income. And it's not cheap to buy the animals, to pay for the feed, for the facility to raise them, the truck to haul them, or the trailer, all of those things. And that's another choice. If a parent doesn't believe their child is benefiting from being involved in this, it is a very simple choice that they walk away from it.
Right. But I agree with that. And I understand that. And I see that. But the one thing that, while I think the main reason that kids normally get involved in this is because their parents or somebody they're close to did it. They know what it did for them. And that's how it starts. Because, I mean, I'm just going to level with you people. I don't know how many 8 or 9-year-olds, if they had not been brought up in this or exposed to it, would be like, you know what? I'm going to show a go. I don't know if that's there. But my point in all this is kids have more options. So if we do not continue to try to make this, and this is the thing, I had a show that's coming up, and they want to do some promotion or all this other stuff. So they gave me a list of questions, and one of the questions was, what sets me apart from other judges? And I don't like that question because I truly don't think I know I'm crazy and unique. I don't think I'm that much different than everybody else. And the way I answered that is my top priority every time a kid comes in to an arena to me is I want them to know they have been seen, they are appreciated, and they are not just an exhibitor number to me. And I don't know if that sets me apart because I think that should be everyone's goal, but I think I accomplish that a lot of times. And if we don't, whether it is show management, volunteers, judges, breeders, brokers, if we don't keep that type of attitude to the forefront, where these kids want to be involved in this, they want to continue to grow up in this industry because it is fun, it is exciting, and it is something that they want to do, because it is a lot easier to make other choices now more than ever, then we will lose it.
No, you're dead on, Ryan. I mean, it is a reality. And I think a lot of our listeners understand it, but just when we stop and take a moment to reflect, it is that basic. And it's interesting. I think it's something that can continue. And I hope it continues to stay positive. And Ryan and I promise we're going to continue to do this podcast as long as we have listeners out there that want to, and we can continue to fit that into our schedule. And Ryan, you made a comment earlier about transparency and how you've spilled your life stories out there. And I've maybe given a little bit. For those that didn't know me or do not know me, or prior to this podcast, I would say that I was pretty closed up in terms of even discussing politics.
An oyster that cannot be opened.
What I'm getting at is this podcast, as I reflect back over 200 episodes, I have definitely become much more open, and I credit this primarily to Ryan. And he will pull things out of you that I would have never thought I'd want to talk about. But I can assure you that transparency on myself and not hesitating on sharing my opinion, good or bad. I think you can listen to our first 10 or 15 minutes of every single episode with our current events, and that will clue you in on how transparent we're going to be in the not only politically or current events around the world, but with the livestock industry itself. So I almost feel like a better person. I feel better within myself being able to just, here's the good and bad. It just is what it is. And as Ryan had mentioned earlier, that the failures are what make you stronger and educate you if you're willing to learn from it to move forward. And I promise you, I've had plenty of those in my lifetime. And I do attribute some of those to making some of the other things that have succeeded that much better and allowed for that to happen. So there's a lot of it to it. I also, and I know we're going a lot of different directions, Ryan, I appreciate when a listener will reach out to me via text or Facebook Messenger, or to Ryan and I, or even if we're at a show, and just talk about a certain topic or give us ideas or insight in what they enjoy and don't enjoy, because without that, we're not getting a lot of feedback other than how many episodes were listened to. And I think we can look at each episode and see which ones are more popular and listen to. But I think a lot of times that's just all about how attractive that title was. And Ryan is 99% responsible for coming up with those titles. So it's it's interesting to me. We need that kind of input. Please give us that input. What resonates and what direction you like this to go. And we feel very comfortable in what we think needs talked about. But Ryan and I maybe I think we go to as many shows as anybody, particularly Ryan, as many as he judges. We're seeing a lot of different places in the country and a lot of different shows that we attend and families that we visit with, but we're still in a little bit of a bubble. We're not out there at every county show or every jackpot show. So please reach out in whatever manner, Facebook Messenger, text, visit with us in person and share some of that. We're open to those kind of things. We talk about evolving. We need that input to continue to evolve in the right direction.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point. And again, we decided we were doing this at 3:01 a.m. and it is now like 9. So anyway, as Dale said, I think y'all probably be disappointed if y'all didn't know. We're like, this is what we're going with, and we're going to talk about it in 4 hours. But that is a point that I wanted to make. And I joke about hate mail, and I get it. I do get some, whatever, but I make jokes about hate mail. But it's okay. I made a decision a long time ago in my life, long before I knew Dale Hummel or anything before a podcast had ever happened, that I was going to be me. And that was going to come with a lot of repercussions and a lot of obstacles and all this other stuff and criticism. And I was perfectly fine with it. So if you don't like something and you want to express it, send it. I'm not going to say that I agree with you, but I want to hear those things, even though I joke about hate mail. But he's right. And it's not just when you see us at a show. Send us a Facebook message, send us a text message, whatever. Email, we clearly are not very good with. We have talked about that on here before, but we do check the messenger about topics that you want to hear or why you like this topic or which thing you want to hear. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that every single person that sends in a message about we need this topic or we want to hear this topic, it's going to happen. But I do want you to know we do read those things, especially if it comes via Facebook Messenger. We do read those things and we do discuss it. Now, sometimes we're like, oh, there's no way in hell we're doing this. But a lot of times it is the exact opposite. That's a spin on this that we haven't thought about, all this other stuff. But we need to hear from you because without you and our listeners being engaged and wanting to hear and us knowing which direction you want us to continue, then this isn't going to, just like the livestock industry, sustain, thrive, and survive. And so we need that input from you, and we are open to it, even though I joke about hate mail all the time. But please reach out, even if it's at a show. People are afraid to come up and talk or whatever. They seem like they feel more comfortable. I don't know why, but it seems like they will come up more often when Dale is there to talk about the podcast. When they just come up to me at a show, they want a picture or whatever and all this stuff, but I don't hear much about the podcast. But when we're together, then they want to talk about it. So that is enjoyable, even though sometimes Dale is engrossed in his phone like he was all of the San Antonio Goat Show, but we won't bring that up.
That was sale day. You knew that. You know that.
Yeah.
Okay. This was good. This was enjoyable. I don't know how educational this is, but I hope at least from a big picture standpoint in the junior livestock industry, I hope it makes, if I could have one wish for our listeners out there, if you can just take one moment and reflect upon, think about the junior livestock industry. Its only reason, in my opinion, for existence at this point is to better our youth and provide an environment and the tools to raise them and make them better human beings. Obviously, people are involved. I'm breeding show animals. There's hundreds or thousands of people across the country doing that, but we are very much in our own little bubble. We're our own industry. Our industry does not truly have an impact on anything else, and there's no reason for us to survive if children and exhibitors don't enjoy doing it, and if parents don't make that choice to put their disposable income into it. It's a more I guess what I'm saying, it's a more fragile industry than what we would like to think. And let's continue to foster and have it go the right direction. Mm-hmm. And thank you to those listeners out there that take some of the things that we discuss and take it to the next level and that further discussion among your circle and so forth. Please continue to do that. Ryan and I, even though we like to think we can do a lot of things, when we have somebody bring to our attention a problem, we can't wave that magic wand and fix the problem, but we darn sure can bring attention to it and stimulate more discussion out there in our industry that hopefully in a longer term sense makes that change.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's kind of what I wanted to end with. And I don't know, but we will continue to give praise to this industry, to support this industry. We will also still talk about the things that need to be changed, need to be corrected, all that stuff. But you, listeners, you are the ones that have to take it, the masses, to the people that run shows, put on shows, hire judges, all the things. You have to continue the conversation after we put it out there, because just like Dale says, we don't have a magic wand. We're willing to start it. We're willing to talk about it. We're willing to put ourselves out there and do this. But it is up to you guys to continue the work, because you're the ones that will actually be the change and make the change that you want to see in this industry by continually keeping that conversation out there and bringing it up to the people that you know have the ability to see that change happen.
Excellent. 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 Are you ready?
Yes.
Do you have a sponsor for questions?
I do. For the third week in a row, I would like to thank Infinite Health Labs of Stillwater, Oklahoma, for being the question and answer sponsor of the Beyond the Ring podcast. And we appreciate your donation to the BTRJLA. Infinite Health Labs is dedicated to the total wellness and creating effective holistic healthcare products for both humans and animals alike. Their newest product is Orange Power. If you have a finicky show project, now's the time to start using Orange Power. Orange Power is designed to stimulate appetite quickly and will add a touch of bloom for that show ring look. All of their products are available at www.infinitehealthlabs.com. Thank you, Infinite Health Labs and Justin. We appreciate your support.
Do you want to know what we about forgot to do?
You forgot your water boy duties.
I did not forget. I was just going to save it for question and answer.
No, you forgot your water boy duties.
I think we got so long into the current events.
Water boy duties.
I have it.
Showfresh H2O. You should fire Dale. He is no longer the water boy.
Maybe Clifton will splice it in earlier, but I think it's better right where it's at now. What is the biggest single thing that legally can be done in the 12 hours prior to leading/walking a show animal into the ring? Hydration, hydration, hydration. Showfresh H2O can help ensure maximum water intake. You can purchase Showfresh H2O at your local farm store, show supply trailer, and at swampfox.com. How did you get me so flustered in current events that I skipped over that?
You are the worst water boy in the history of the world.
I believe I looked up and we're 30 minutes in.
Bad water boy.
Current event.
Bad water.
Showfresh H2O, we appreciate it. And you know what? We didn't mention our sponsors in this, and I would prefer not to lose money and have to cost us money to put this podcast out each week.
We did it for years.
We're willing to do so, and we don't want to over commercialize it, but we appreciate the sponsors because that is what pays Clifton, and Clifton is not necessarily anti-junior livestock show, but he is not involved in that world, and he has no reason to donate his time.
Likes money.
Yes, he is going to charge us to do what he does, and it just is that simple. There's no way he's not gonna allow us to get a free pass there. So we appreciate the sponsors, and especially Showfresh H2O. They've been a longtime sponsor. Thank you, and those of you out there, please, if you haven't tried Showfresh H2O, out of the fact that they're willing to support this podcast and give back to the industry, give it a try. If you don't like it, fine. But I do believe If we're going from well water without chlorine in it to city water with chlorine, this absolutely will make a difference on your hydration. Muscle is 80% water. Think about it. With that said, now can we go to question and answer, Ryan?
Sure.
I can't believe you didn't say something. Hey, what about the water boy thing? Why didn't you remind me?
I forgot.
Current events was pretty big this week, and yeah. With that said, Jody has a question. Love the podcast. Always look forward to it and have been listening for over a year. This is my son's second year in the BTR JLA, and we're excited to go after more. 2 questions. What cameras does Dale use? And when will the 2023 awards be sent? Curious on regional top 5. I believe you've sent some of the awards, not all of them, out.
We have got all. Okay, so to answer my portion of this question, all of the national level awards have gone out except for the jackets and the all around disco ball trophy. But Piper, that is coming. He hasn't got it to me yet. And we are double checking sizes because we had some problems last year on that with the 40 kids that won jackets. So, but like 98% of the national awards have gone out. We are working on the regional and the state ones right now. So they will be going out shortly.
And Jody, I believe the Ring camera or the cameras you're referring to, and I saw this on a Facebook post, and somebody asked me what kind of camera I use, and I've been picturing goats all day, and I thought, well, I don't know, it's just this Canon ES70 or whatever it is. And no, they said the one you referred to on the podcast that we use in the barn to check on the animals at night and hopefully prevent people from stealing things. That is, I cannot, my technological abilities are limited. But the Ring camera system, not only is it economical, relatively affordable, but it's easy to use. And one other question was that we have the battery operated as well as the plug-in cameras. I think you can use either one. It doesn't really matter. We use a combination of the two. And usually you can get on the internet there at the stock show. And if they can't, then you would need to provide, we have a little, I believe, Verizon box. I don't know what it's called, that we can put up in that area or somewhere in the building, and that provides an internet source for the camera. It does come with a small monthly fee. I think it's very minimal. But no, that the Ring cameras, and I've had that question a lot, Ryan. I don't know if you've seen some of those come across, but that has been a very popular question. So happy to answer that. The second question comes from Justin. Ryan and Dale, longtime listener of this great podcast. I was recently at the Florida State Fair where the judge asked on the microphone for youth exhibitors to not shake their hand as they exit the ring during the show. The practice of shaking hands is used frequently in Florida by youth exhibitors. Is this practice common in other states? Since you're both judges, what are some reasons you would or wouldn't want exhibitors to shake your hand during the show?
I think this is, again, I don't know if it's controversial, but you're going to get lots of different responses on this. Here's the thing. If you will wait because a lot of people and a lot of judges just want you to wait till after the whole show's over. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people don't stay for the whole show. If they're not in the Grand Drive or they're going to another show or they got to get home, all this other stuff, they show their animal, they pack up and they go home. So there's going to be a lot of kids that aren't there to the bitter end. What I would say and what I would suggest is wait till that judge is done talking that class. Because and it doesn't bother me, but the frustrating part for a lot of judges is they're trying to describe these animals. They're talking about the things and trying to explain their placings. And then they have kid after kid after kid walking up and shaking their hand, and that is breaking their concentration. And I completely get it. I get a free pass a lot because I talk to the crowd, and so I'm not looking at the kids, so the kids don't walk up and shake my hand, or I don't see them because my back's to them when I'm talking, so it doesn't affect me as much. I understand wanting to shake the judge's hand. I think that's respectful, but at the same time, it is kind of disrespectful to do it while they're trying to articulate their reasons. wait till he or she is done, put the microphone down for that class, and then I don't think you have a problem at all with the mass majority of judges of shaking that judge's hand.
Yes, very well articulated, Ryan. I agree with that completely. And I believe maybe we've discussed this in private, if not on the podcast. And I do not remember all 200 episodes, so maybe we've already talked about this. I'm going to go out there, and again, there's going to be people that disagree with that, with my suggestion, and that's okay. I prefer when it's a lamb or goat show, or even in a cattle show, I guess, in shows that we're talking the top 5 individuals. I prefer that those 5 individuals actually that we've pulled out stay in place. We discuss first, second, third, fourth, and fifth while they're all still in place, rather than discussing the class winner and then the class winner comes up and shakes your hand and then exits the arena. I think if all 5 animals are out there while you're discussing them, you can compare back and forth just a little bit. It provides for that opportunity while the animals are still there in the ring, and those ringside can evaluate and better understand what you're saying. I think that works really well. And I'm sure other judges and other people are going to have different opinions on that. But if we wait for the judge to finish discussing those 5 and the comments he may make on the ones that are pulled off to the side that we aren't discussing in detail, then the exhibitors can come up, shake the hand, and then exit the ring. Usually that first one will come up to the judge as you're talking. The second one, shake your hand, exit the ring, and so forth. And then those that are 6th on down will shake your hand as they're going out in a big mass, exiting the ring after you're done talking. So that to me just seems very logical. The advantage of the audience seeing all 5 while you're discussing them back and forth, not interrupting the judge while they're trying to articulate those specific animals. And I think it is, was it Scott Greiner that we had on here? I don't want to throw Scott under the bus. He is a little bit uncomfortable, I believe, Ryan, and maybe it wasn't Scott, that when they do come up and shake their hands, it is distracting. And I think it is more distracting for some than others and so forth. So every judge is going to be a little bit different on what they want you to do. I am absolutely with Ryan that I think you want to show that respect for the judge to take the time and come to the show and so forth, as the judge should respect those exhibitors and take it as a responsibility to get things done right and do the best job that they can. With that said, I want the thank you to be more sincere than robotic. Similar to when you get done with a set of reasons, Ryan, I think we were all programmed to just say thank you at the end in a very robotic kind of term or tone. But if we can maybe pause, for example, and I know I'm straying at the set of reasons, pause and then a very sincere thank you, maybe with a little more to it, makes a difference. And I don't know how you necessarily do that as you're exiting the ring. But if that is an exhibitor that is still around when you complete the show, I promise you, when that exhibitor or that family comes up and takes the time to say thank you and shake your hand and visit briefly after the show, that comes across very sincere to me, that they took the time to do it rather than just because you're forced to do it because someone told you to as you're leaving the ring. That's kind of long, Ryan.
No, but very valid. And the one thing that I do want to insert in here that I should have inserted of course, I obviously wasn't at the Florida State Fair when this happened, so I can't and didn't use name or anything. But I don't think any judge does not want to shake a kid's hand. I want to reiterate that. I think it is, just like I said, they do it while they're trying to articulate their reasons over the microphone, and it is distracting for anyone. It would be. And that is why this person probably announced that or said that. And so I get it. I understand it. That's why the answer is, but I do not honestly believe that anybody that I know that has ever judged a show just doesn't want to shake a kid's hand.
Agreed completely. The reason that comment was made was not because they didn't want to, it just probably distracting for them. And every judge and every show and every part of the country is going to be a little bit different. It just is what it is. I think, Ryan, I remember the first time I was exposed to it a long time ago was on the West Coast, judging in California, when it was very prevalent there that each kid would shake your hand on the way out, where at that time it wasn't being done here in the Midwest as much. So it's interesting, but I think it's all evolved. I can't say that I've been to very many shows where they're not, at least some of them, coming up and shaking your hand. So all good. The final question from Dan. The world is once again on fire, and no Beyond the Circus. I don't know if that's a question or a statement, Ryan.
I think it's a statement more than a question. I'm just going to be super honest.
Do you have a response to that statement then?
I did not know this.
I've been telling you I've wanted one for months.
We had one within months. First of all, crazy. Secondly, we talked about...
You're waiting for the Supreme Court, and there's so much shit that's happened in the meantime.
Yeah, but like, you have to have enough stuff to talk about. And we talked 30 minutes today in just question and answer. In current events at the beginning. Yes, there will be a Beyond the Circus coming up shortly. Be patient.
I enjoy the Beyond the Circus. They're always entertaining. Maybe we went a little too far in current events today that we took away from the Beyond the Circus, so we can push it off a little further.
There you go.
Well, Ryan, thank you for the wonderful idea you had to do a 201 Reasons Why. And I appreciate it. Hopefully it's a good insight and the listeners will enjoy this episode. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?